So hello, welcome to our first session of PLP. We today talk about how we plan our resources with Peak Resource Planner. An example, if I'm a test bench operator, how to plan my tests on my test benches. So therefore I already prepared the PLP here in front of you. And we can see here a typical overview over test benches. It is provided in our Peak Resource Planner. So what can we see here? On the left side, we see our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 performance test benches. And as we hover the mouse here, we see some information about our performance test bench. Let's now have a look in one of those performance test benches. I open it. And what we see here, we see certain details about our test bench. Details about a test bench can include any information you can even think about. In this particular example for the performance test bench, here we can see some information about the investment, about the product specification, how should we operate our test bench, some information about the investment, and additional information we can see here in the next tab, qualified engineer. What we have done here for this typical showcase is we have defined that only certain engineers are allowed to use this test bench. And in the third tab we see some calibration information. So for this test bench we defined there are some calibration information available for the test bench. An example, when is the next calibration due? What was the last calibration? We might add some calibration documents which we can download here in this area. And here in the very bottom there we can also define there are certain sensors available in the test bench. So the system provides us with the possibility to describe our resources very well. And in this case here we have a look at our performance test benches. However, we can also describe other resources. An example, climate boxes, durability bench, endurance test bench, engineer, workbenches. So any resource you can think about, we can describe here in PLP. Let's now close this dialog because we want to have a look how do we plan the test benches. So therefore here we have this calendar. And as we already said, in a horizontal line, we see our test bench. And on the top, we see some information about the date. So here we see Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, until Friday, 17th of March. So here we have a timeline. And on this timeline here, we can see the different activities which we, in example, perform on performance test bench 1. Once we click those activity, it will be highlighted that we can see where we are. And now let's have a look at what's happening on Monday. As we can see, there is some Monday maintenance here, on Monday the 6th of March, and also on Monday the 13th of March. Let's have a look inside. So now the system asks us if we want to open a whole series or only this one activity. So we open the whole series because we just like to demonstrate what you can do is if your resources have some recurring events, an example maintenance, calibration, and any other events, you can specify that here. An example here, each Monday there will be a maintenance conducted on this test bench. So we have a good overview over the activities. Here we have a maintenance, and here we have an example, a cancelled test, that's why it's red. Here we have a test which is still in the planning phase. And here the green one is a test which we already have conducted, which is done. As a test bench operator, I need a good overview over the resource calendar, so I can also move my calendar to the left and to the right. I can zoom out and out and out. Now I can zoom in. Up to even to a daily perspective. So, let's have a look at our original calendar again. So, now we see what do we have in the calendar. Those tests which we see here, it's these different test items, now we can plan. So how do we plan them? We can just track them in the calendar. In example, we now track this final pressure loss test onto Wednesday. And we move it back to Monday. So, what we can also do is we can change the resource. We can change from performance test bench 4 to 5 just through moving here from the one test bench to another. What we can also do is we can either increase the testing time or decrease the testing time. So, this is already quite something. So now let's have a look inside the test. So I select the test and let's have a look what can we do in the test. So I open this item and now as we have a look in the test, we see a lot of information. So here on top we see assigned resource. We see that there is an engineer which is assigned to conduct the test and that the test will be conducted on performance test bench 2. Below that we can have a lot of detailed information, and this really very much depends on the test type and on the customer. So for each customer, for each test type, you have here totally different detailed information. In this example we put some information about the test location, about the samples and about the project. What we also put on top, on the very bottom, is we gave the applicant the possibility to specify certain skills a test engineer should have when he conducts the test. What this is good for, we will see later. Now we open another tab where we, in example, can add and download some test results. In example, here some canopy config files. Now we can also add and download other attachments. In example, here we have an original test request which you might to attach. For example, if we just get some request via email from a customer. Here we also uploaded and download a video. So once we started, just the video starts. So this is basically our company introduction video. Good. Here we have a lot of information about the test. So let's now have a look at what can we do with the assigned engineer. So this overview provides us with information about what engineers are available in the system. So here we can see a bit more, and we also see, are they available or are they not available. So, as we already said at the beginning, the certain test here requires some necessary skills. So if we mark a certain tabs, then the system tells us only those 3 engineers are qualified to execute the test. That's why we selected here engineer 11 to conduct the test. Very similar with the selection of the performance test bench. We already have pre-selected test bench 2, that's why we saw it in the calendar. But also here the system provides us with the test benches and it tells us if they are available in the testing time or not. Another very helpful feature is the related schedule. So what's that about? If I have a test which demands a certain time, I might have conduct certain activities. In example, I need to do inspection on the test, or I might need to do some maintenance in the test. Those activities I can all model here in this part of the test. So I can define additional tasks which need to be conducted during the tests. So that's a lot of information about the test, and basically we experienced we can really put any information which you need for your testing into those test templates. We call this test template. So let's now close this mask and have a look at our overview again. So as we see here now, we have the overview of what we are going to do in this week on the test benches, and we plan for the next week. So to be able to plan, the system here on the right side provides us with a list of test requests which still needs to be planned. So the test bench operator very easily can just take them and move them onto the test benches where it should be conducted. In example here, we pull this test request onto performance test bench 5 for next Tuesday. And done, and as we see, our list became a bit shorter. So that's basically the work of the test bench operator, dragging those test requests on a suitable place until the list becomes shorter and shorter. So, what we didn't talk about yet is, you probably already noticed there are certain quotation marks here. There is some red quotation mark and it tells us there is a problem. And here now we in red we also see what is the problem. So, therefore we look here at the performance test bench. The system recognized that to perform a test it needs an engineer. In this case there is an engineer 4 which is being assigned to the test. However, he's already assigned to another test. So as he cannot be at the same time 2 times, there is a problem. Let's have a look into the test. So here we see it. There's a test engineer 4 which is assigned to the test, but he's not available. So probably it's a good idea to use another test engineer or to just move our test to a more suitable time slot. So this is what the system also provides you, to move it to the next available time slot where there would be no conflict. Good. And as we're talking about engineers, here we have seen a lot of engineers here in the test, and we see that we assign those engineers to tests, to maintenance, and so on. And because out of this information we can easily can also generate a work plan for our test engineers. So what we open now is a view which might be very valuable for a team leader who wants to know what are my engineers doing over the week or over the month. So here now we see an overview of our 10 test engineers. And what we can do here also is we can drag and drop our tests, or what we can also do is we can just create new activities. An example we can define as our test engineer 4 takes a day off on Friday. So we say he is on vacation. So now we see he is on vacation and he cannot be assigned to any other activities in this time. And this is how we create our plans. Our plan on the test bench, our work plan, or our plan for an example, our climate boxes, endurance test bench, engine test bench for our samples, how do we deal with those performance test benches, or what we also did here is we integrated a workshop. So also a workshop we can play our activities on that. So, and in summary, now we went through those calendars. With those calendars we can plan all activities of a test department on all of the resources and make sure that all resources are available at the right time. So another benefit of the scheduling of resources in the system is that if I schedule all those tests, all those activities of resources here, I very easily can create statistics of how much do I really use my resources in a month. So let's have a look here. We opened a window and we see that for the time from the 1st of March until 1st of April, we create some statistics. An example, we select the performance test bench here, and then here in the diagram we see what did we really do with our performance test benches. An example, in this example here, 31% of the tests of the time we conducted leakage tests on that. We conducted pressure loss tests, downtime 9% we had, and we had 25% where there was no activity at all. So as a manager at the end of the month or at the end of the year, I might need to decide, do I need to buy a new performance test bench or do I need to hire new people? And this statistics helps me very much with that. The statistics is not only available on performance test bench level, you can also go down into more details to know what you have done there. Like example, now we drill down into performance test bench 1 and then we have a look into what kind of leakage tests that we conduct, and we can even jump into the details of the test. So this tool helps us very much with analyzing how much did we use our resources and what have we done of our resources. So I think now I'm very much done with the topic of resource scheduling. I think you got the most important features. And I would be happy to hear you again for the second part of the presentation, which is about how to schedule tests, how to create a design verification plan, how to deal with test series in a peak resource planner. Until then, thank you much for your attention and goodbye.